In this episode, you'll learn how to embrace neutralizing your perspective, seeing your power even in moments of failure, without falling into toxic optimism. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. Here's 3 things that you'll discover in today's episode. Number 1, the practice of reframing without being overly optimistic. Number 2, how to use your challenges as meaningful inspiration. And number 3, the importance of getting with it and being honest about life's brutality. Now, number 1 in relationship to perspective neutralization, the practice of reframing without being overly optimistic. So, for instance, you have something that you may label as a problem, right? That thing occurs in your life. It could be relationships, it could be mechanical, it could be technical, etc. And there's an initial, oh man, or oh why. You gotta, number 1, get through the victim perspective of resistance. Why did this happen to me? Oh, another problem, another day. Like those mentalities attracting and just inviting a mechanical and vicious cycle of pain into your life. So initially, you reframe and you start to see, all right, well, do I have to work out today or do I get to work out? Gratitude comes into the fold almost immediately because gratitude is it's kind of like when you multiply anything times 0, you get 0. Gratitude does that. It neutralizes victimhood. You cannot be in a state of gratitude and be a victim at the same time, right? So fundamentally, you need to have courage to even invite gratitude into your life. You need to have the courage to say, you know what? All right, maybe this happened to me. Maybe I was born into this family. Maybe I was born into this place with this amount of limited opportunities. Well, I'm going to find the best opportunity I can for me no matter what. I'm going to show up with a smile on my face, a genuine smile, and I'm not going to take other people's energy personally. Because I realize, like, hey, life isn't meant to be rainbows and fairy tales. I'm not sure if you've seen that movie Wall-E, but there's like a scene in that movie where everyone's in wheelchairs and AI is doing everything for them and the humans are all fat and lethargic. You know? It's like that cannot happen and that will not happen because you need to have that accountability over your perspective, right? So the practice of reframing without being overly optimistic, you notice that I haven't brought any, oh yeah, life's perfect. And my last episode was on the quote of you are exactly where you're meant to be. That being said, I talk so much about change and grace and surrender and your relationship letting the fire purify you. It's similar here where, okay, you have that thing that you may label a problem, but you learn to see it as an opportunity to get better at something. For example, you need to replace your brakes on your car. Almost everyone has a vehicle, right? Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to be mechanically inclined, but it's a great thing, especially for men, to dive into. Even if you haven't been raised by a father who taught you about sockets and ratchets and all these mechanical uses of tools, measurement, carpentry, etc. You don't need to come from a family of excellence to be excellent. I think that's important. And I'll repeat it. You do not need to come from a family of excellence to be excellent yourself. You have to make a decision, a choice, a commitment to being the best you possibly can. And that means that you do not stay down. Very fundamentally, that's why we start with the solution to victimhood and being grateful. The only way for you to be grateful, though, is to actually earn that gratitude. If you sit on your ass and you don't do anything and you numb yourself and you're constantly on your phone and you're not building anything and you're not organizing your mind and you're not working out and eating good food and getting fresh air, then you're going to be so clouded that the victim, the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call it, negative energy, the right? That's gonna swallow you. And all that being said, sometimes you have to be at the bottom of the ocean in the whale's belly like Pinocchio to realize, hey, I'm not gonna stay here. I'm not meant to die in this whale's belly. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna start a fire and make that motherfucker sneeze. Sorry for the practical. I'm not sure how many of you have watched Pinocchio, but I like that movie. All right. So let's go into number 2, how to use your challenges as meaningful inspiration. And that is to see, all right, I'm going to first take a step back, right? I'm looking and I'm observing and I'm considering the bigger picture. This is why balance in your life is so important. And a lot of overly ambitious people will say the complete opposite. And the thing is, you need to have a insane amount of balance in your life. You need to commit to listening to your spirit. And if that means working 50-hour weeks for a portion of your life, 60-hour weeks, that's what that means. But you're not doing it without intention. You're doing it with intelligence. You're committing, you're pushing yourself to the brink with the holistic vision in heart and in spirit and in mind, right? So that's important. That's like the foundation because you're going to have these moments, these periods in your life where you're in the tunnel and you don't see the light. You, it's going to feel heavy. Your back, your spine is going to feel like, oh, I don't know how much more I can carry this weight. But guess what? You keep going. You do your best and you do not give up. And you remind yourself of why. You don't forget why you started. That's one of the things that's been hard for me on this journey of entrepreneurship is I've been working at this for almost a decade. And sometimes you can get so into the specific thing that you're working on that you forget what got you started. And that's something where I want to say, have some form of a practice that you do not stop. For me, I stopped meditating because I wanted to see what I was like without this practice that I committed to for 500 days straight. And it was a weird period, but it was also a insightful period where I let go of meditation. And I've been doing it again recently, and it's helpful. But at the same time, sometimes that's how life works. Jordan Peterson talks about how sometimes you're going to walk into the forest, you're going to stretch your comfort zone to the point where you're so uncomfortable. And then you'll come back a little bit, but your comfort zone has now expanded. And now your relationship to the dark, to the unknown, to the uncertainty is not so shaky, right? For a very practical example, he's a clinical psychologist, Mr. Peterson, and he had a client who was terrified of elevators. And what he did to heal that wound, that unnecessary fear of elevators, was first, day one, he just had her look at the elevator. All right, that's enough. That's enough for the balance. Day two, then you take a couple steps forward and you look at the elevator. Do you notice how in day one, he's not saying, all right, in hour one, we're going to do this. In hour two, we're going to do this. In hour three, we're going to do this. Because that's like too forceful. Her spirit wasn't ready for that. So he did it one day at a time. Let's stretch out 2 weeks later. Now she's able to like be in the elevator. She could go up and down a floor. She could close the door in the elevator. She didn't go anywhere. She opened the door. She could be in the elevator, right? You get my point. It is a progressive balance. And the tough part about the word balance is that it's a word. And very frequently, if you and I were to have a conversation in depth, a lot of what we would be doing is making sure that we define words at the same level. Because let's say we start a conversation from a specific topic or concept, but our definition of the words involved in that topic or concept are not in alignment. We're not defining those words within a similar frequency or essence. Then everything else sprouting from that conversation would be diluted. So again, I could tie this to the pharmaceutical industry, many other industries, the educational industry, where we are not addressing the root of what humanity needs. We're educating, we're engineering, but we're not healing. We're not creating silence and stillness. We're not bringing the wisdom of Egypt, of the religions, of the truth into how we raise and guide humanity. And that will change. That is changing because it's just inevitable and it's natural. Consciousness, as we get into this phase of rapid evolution with technological advancement and AI, it increases the risk of the game of life. And that means that consciousness and spirit and God understand, it very clearly understands that. So you're going to see in the next 20 to 50 years, next 100 years, a massive change in how humans behave and how humans perceive and in the level of consciousness in which we play the game of life, right? Einstein said, what did that guy say? He said, the problem will not be solved at the same level of consciousness which it was created. I don't know when Einstein was born and died, but the fact that he related that to consciousness, see, he was a genius for a reason because he connected himself to his spirit. Although he was a very scientific and knowledgeable man, he connected himself to the spirit, else he would have never said something like that consciousness quote. Now, when you're using your challenges as meaningful inspiration, you're letting the fire purify you. You're sitting in the flame and you're somehow finding a way to smile. Somehow sitting in the pain. Maybe your boss is screaming at you. Maybe your, I don't know, your anxiety is just raging and you're noticing, you're learning, you're questioning. You're bringing skepticism into the energy in which you're radiating. And you're learning how to uproot and unravel how you created that state of being. See, consciousness changing and expanding is so much more in relationship to subtraction than addition. It's not that you need more objects, more this, more habits. You need to subtract what's making you weak. And that's how you get honest. So you need stillness, you need silence, you need to prioritize being alone sometimes. Solitude is extraordinarily valuable. Now, point number 3, the importance of getting with it and being honest about life's brutality. I love to use nature as a primal example, and that is, right, the lion in Giselle, the nature of a grizzly bear. Look at the orca whales. There are predators and prey, and life works in that way. And the meaning behind a human feeling like a prey is to get rid of all which keeps that human weak, right? A funny thing about animal nature, you take an elephant. I've watched this video multiple times. You have a charging elephant in the Amazon or in the jungle, wherever. And that elephant, he's charging at one of the guides. And you know, the guide understands the elephant's nature because he's invested enough presence being around these animals. He's clearly doing what he's meant to be doing because he has the confidence to stand up to an animal which is thousands of pounds heavier than him, that can generate force much grander than he could. But he understands the nature of this elephant, and as it's charging at him, he does not back away. He actually walks toward it. He stands his ground. And that elephant actually leaves. Instead of charging him and the people that he was guiding through the nature, that elephant understood and almost respected that this man had the connection, had the strength, the power, the faith to stand up to such an animal. You see, that is a primal example of the importance of getting with the nature of life. If you're being chased by a predator, what that predator more often than not is going to respect you for is not running. Even though that animal may be able to rip you apart, you're going to have these moments where you face your fear. You look darkness in its eyes and you understand what needs to be done in this moment. And another way of saying it could be on January 12th of 2025, my dog passed away in my arms. And she stopped. She wasn't able to walk in the forest. So At first, I picked her up and I didn't have the right form. I was struggling. I was carrying her in front of my chest, and I kept having to stop. I felt disappointed in myself. I felt worry, panic. Is she, all these thoughts. And then I met a guy, and he said something to me. He didn't help anything crazy, but he helped in this way. He gave me a new idea. And then I started carrying her on my shoulders. And I followed him and his girlfriend or his wife. I stayed with their pace, even though they weren't carrying a 90-pound dog on their shoulders, because I almost felt that gratitude for him. And it was like he gave me a new perspective. All right, put her on the shoulders. And that's brutal, right? I love my dog, and she's not on this planet anymore. And the amount of moments, joy, love that I've had with her. It's like, man, life is brutal. It's hard, but it's also beautiful. That relationship, it showed me so much. And this is where you don't back down. You let the compassion, you let the emotion, the energy change your heart and show you, oh man, this is what life's about. This is what matters the most to me. These are the things that I really get the juice from. And you're going to have these moments where people whom you love, they die. They're not here anymore. But you carry them with you, not in a painful sense, but in a, oh yeah, every moment that I ever invested into that relationship, it was worth it, right? And that's the way that you don't have regret. And that's the way that you live and lead an amazing life, is you just care. And you're there and you're present and you're honest. So, recap. The practice of reframing without being overly optimistic. It's not about being overly positive, but rather neutralizing your perspective. This practice, it allows you to appreciate that a tough day was necessary. Number 2, how to use your challenges as meaningful inspiration. You must commit to seeing your power even in failure, realizing that failure isn't a necessity to win. Let your challenges and struggles serve as meaningful inspiration to be strong, not for your own desires, but for others who are not here. The importance of getting with it and being honest about life's brutality. You must get with it and be honest about the brutality and the beauty within life. Life is intricate and complex, and your commitment is to discern and be free of judgment regarding these opposing, because they really create a unison. Now, ultimately, you're exactly where you're meant to be. When you stop fighting the circumstance, you can move with truth and alignment, which changes the energy you emanate to the world. All right. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Share this with someone. Please do that. Share it with someone. New episodes out Monday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to get into amazing shape, I got your back. Just check that out down below. If you want to read these in written form, that's free. That's down below. Speak soon.